Yeah, this is awesome.
All right, perfect. Welcome, everybody. It's a special edition of the Try It series. My name's McNew. I'll be your host along with Tim Swiat. Thanks, Tim, for getting this really all organized and put together. That's all on you. Thank you.
Woo, Tim.
Yes.
Go, Tim.
And we'll be trying Brothers Bond tonight, which I think we're all excited about. And we have a special guest, Ian Somerhalder. Thanks for being with us, Ian.
Thank you for having me. This is the biggest treat. It's the first of its kind of our whole launch of our company.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're the first. That's super exciting for us too. So we were going to ask you a couple of questions and then we'll start drinking. Is that okay?
That's the best question I've gotten all day long.
Perfect.
I just want you to know that.
Awesome. So what inspired you and Paul Wesley to create this together?
You know, listen, you'd be very hard pressed to find a brand, right? Even way before a brand, with a relationship of an 11 years of IP built around it, like a global IP, right?
Right.
Paul and I have been talking about this for 10 years. We, you know, the brothers, for those of you, first of all, not only am I really grateful that you all are on this call, this is amazing. I'm also super grateful that you watched all 172 episodes of Vampire Diaries in anticipation for this. Super kind of you. I know time is scarce and Netflix is, you know, is a bitch, but thank you for doing that. But if you don't remember, because you had to drink a lot of Brothers Bond to get through my and Paul's performances, I will just remind you, you know, this show was a global, you know, pop culture phenomenon. It just was. And the brothers, Paul, Wesley, and I played on-screen Vampire Brothers. The brothers bonded on-screen over bourbon. Paul and I bonded off-screen over bourbon. I'm from New Orleans. He's from the East Coast, but his family's Europeans. They didn't have a ton of, you know, experience with brown spirits. But we were living in Atlanta, Georgia for 8 years shooting the show. And while we were down there just in a cocoon, I mean, we traveled a lot, but in this cocoon, this show was building to 500 million viewers per episode globally. So you run those numbers and you think about the hearts, minds, souls, household, and conversations that amount of IP has at that level, right, at that scale. So it was very powerful, and we always wanted to do this. And there's not a more authentic thing that he and I could do. You know, we've been drinking bourbon on the show since 1864. You know, and this runs through my veins. You know, I'm a poor kid from the bayous of Southeast Louisiana. So, you know, summer Sundays after church, all the adults are there drinking mint juleps. We had sugarcane on our field, on our property. We used to, you know, grind all the sugarcane and muddle all the mint as little kids. So bourbon has been in my soul, you know, for a long time. It's just that Paul and I wanted to create one that was to be the most poured and shared bourbon literally on the planet. And we, you know, we're confident that we're going to achieve that, believe it or not.
And that's awesome because you're obviously so passionate about it. And I would call you guys a celebrity brand because you are celebrities to most of us. And it's nice to see that you're passionate about it and
That's
that you put
scary
work
word
into it without just slapping your name on a bottle. So we appreciate that as bourbon fans.
Well, I mean, listen, everybody, you all know as well as I do, and I won't bore you with the details, but there are a lot of celebrity-backed alcohol out there right now. And it is, you know, every single thing from the bottle to the label to the neck tags, every single thing came out of our brain. We created every single thing. Any of you whiskey people will know that this is the Gooderham and Worts bottle, which I'm in love with. I'm in love with it. But every piece is sustainably sourced. The bottles are actually not labeled sustainable. They're obviously recyclable and we use them for lots of other things. But this was like the biggest, greatest thing that I could have ever done. And so the story and then the give back, you know, the future of the most successful companies on the planet now, and I don't mean just monetarily, but the companies of the future that are going to be the most successful are the ones with triple bottom line: people, planet, profit. End of story. You know, Gen Zs and millennials want to know that the companies that they're spending their hard-earned dollars with are actually doing something with it. And we are poised in this unique time, especially in this post-COVID era, to launch this thing and to create bonds. This is what's exciting, and a flavor profile that everybody could enjoy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, what do you want to ask?
Yeah, so on that same topic, on the necktie it says, not everybody's been able to see the bottle or anything like that, but you're donating a portion of the proceeds back to regenerative farming as well. What does that look like for now or in the future? What's your passion behind that project? Because I know you've got some projects that you've worked on that on the side too.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, again, the biggest swings in the world societally are not going to come from nonprofits or governments, right? It's going to come from businesses. And I was fortunate enough, I don't know if anyone's had a chance to see Kiss the Ground. It's on Netflix right now. It's a film I got to produce. It took us 7 years to create, to make the film. But it's all about how regenerative agriculture can literally stop climate change. I mean, stop it in its tracks, put it in our rearview mirror through regenerative ag. And obviously, most of us on this call sort of understand the principles. But the principle, people say, what is regenerative agriculture? Regenerative agriculture is the use of planned grazing methods and large-scale agriculture, using living growing plants at scale to sequester enormous amounts of carbon dioxide and safely store it back into the ground where it belongs. Then obviously feeding all those microorganisms that make up healthy soil, healthy planet, healthy person, healthy, it's all goes down the line. And so we know that this is possible. So we are giving back money, net sales, and then encouraging us also too, as owners of the company, we will be personally out of our own pockets and encouraging and pushing our partners to do the same. We're building a consortium of global, we are an agricultural brand. We're a company, all of us make so much energy and love and sustenance and money from agriculture. So why not give back to agriculture and making this company not only the first truly regenerative spirits company in the world, but by virtue of creating and basically a regenerative agricultural food system, an industrial food system in this country, we will, offset so much. And when other countries follow, the world will literally shift in its axis. It's a big swing. We're going to put our money where our mouth is. And we truly feel that, this company, it's not going to be carbon neutral. It's going to be carbon negative. When every ear or every kernel of corn that goes into this was a kernel of corn that sequestered carbon dioxide from the legacy load of carbon in the air, we will have truly succeeded. And so we're going to do this up and down our supply chain. And we're going to make sure the farmers coming into this new realm have the tools and the resources that they need to build the greatest regenerative ag system in human history.
Well, I think that kind of shows with the product you have for us tonight. Your launch product is a 4-grain.
Yeah.
Traditionally, bourbon's a 3-grain. You chose a 4-grain recipe. It's 65% corn, 22 rye, and the rest is wheat and barley. Yep. How many combinations did you go through? Because 4-grain whiskeys are very unique in and of themselves, but the flavor profiles are quite different. What did that process go through on the selection of the product you finally put in the bottle?
They are different. Obviously, we all know this too. It's invariably difficult, almost impossible to do a 3-grain at 80 proof. You're just not going to have that, level of nuance. But the 4-grain, I'm obsessed with traditional American bourbon, and what you can do within that space is pretty phenomenal. The people that inspired me in the bourbon world are, nuance and complexity in a spirit is beyond not only important, but you can build from that, right? So Tim, everyone, I'm not kidding you. for 14 months in my home, there were, John Kaufman can actually attest to this, there were graduated measuring cylinders, glass ones, all over the house. There were 750 ml bottles everywhere. This was hundreds of iterations of this. It was 14 straight months of blending. I mean, morning, noon, and night. I'm not kidding. I literally sourced this I could not have done anymore. And we finally found it, which was a complexity right out of the bottle that was approachable immediately. I mean, a Gen Z or a millennial gal or guy or my 70-year-old mom or my 80-year-old dad can literally pour this out of a bottle and drink it without it even opening up. That's all I could ever want. But with a level of nuance and complexity that us as bourbon drinkers could appreciate and enjoy. You know, those are hard things to hit all at once. And so fortunately, Tim, I knew that we wanted high rye. Obviously, you know, in the industry, anything over 18% is considered high. But I really wanted to balance out that spice with, you know, the nutty notes too. You know, we keep wheat and rye, wheat and barley a secret, just because this was my life. Like, I spent so much time creating that. But what I wanted was an equal sensory proportion, right? Where all of those grains are expressed over your palate, but in total harmony and balance. I don't mean to sound too kumbaya about it, don't get me wrong, but it was that balance, right? That is so difficult to find. And then once that heat dissipates even a little bit, there's very little heat because it's at 80 proof. Once you get that kick down the back, I can't wait to try this, you're going to get these warm, sort of sweet notes on the end. So basically, you know, we're firm believers that life kicks you in the teeth. Your bourbon doesn't have to. You know? Actually, let's try some of this.
Let's go ahead and open it, guys. Open your samples. There we go.
So this was a big thing. Not having sample, but having a UPC code. I almost cried when I got the case of this first case of this stuff. To get it to that point, it was nothing short of. So I'm going to pour a nice.
McNew, are they both the same samples? I was trying to look at the label. They're both the same, or did everybody get two? Or
You had two because you ordered two.
Yeah, they're all the same.
They're the same.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Wait, we could have got two samples? Shit.
Yeah, what's going on, Tim?
I didn't
Hey,
think about that.
Listen,
I didn't know it was an option.
our line extensions are going to be coming in soon, and they're going to blow your mind. I will make sure that I get everyone on this call because this is like the inaugural one. What an incredible group. I'm so grateful to be on this call with this incredible group. So let's, everybody's got everything open.
It smells so good. It's like vanilla
banana.
and floral.
I get banana right on the nose, like right away.
Too,
Banana.
Banana bread, right? That
Yeah.
banana bread.
Yes.
And then, you know, obviously, you know, smaller sips tend to be better. I just fill my entire mouth, but go ahead and get it in there and just, you know, move that around really over your palate. I honestly, everybody here knows, has been drinking bourbon probably longer than me, but your first sip is not always going to be your best because who knows what's on your tongue? Who knows what's on your palate? Mm-hmm. I always take that first one, I clean it off, but
That's good.
you know that equal sensory proportion, really, you kind of get a bit of all of those grains.
Mm-hmm.
And then on that back end, after about 30 seconds, you get that sweet kick.
Yeah,
that lingers for about a minute 20, and then it goes away. It's almost just like seeing someone on the street and giving them a hug and walking away.
That's a great way to put it.
I've never compared
enjoyable.
bourbon drinking to giving someone a hug on the street. But it's a good one. I like it.
We'll definitely hang out more. I'm sure we've got a bunch of those in us. But you know, it's that second sip, to be honest with you, that you're really going to get all that sort of the nut, a little bit of that spice, rounded out with a tiny bit of bread right before it gets sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And and the spice isn't overpowering. If the spice isn't from an alcohol burn, you can truly feel the grain breaking down as you go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it dances all across from the tip of the tongue at first, it seems like, because there's the corn, and then just works its way back and then balances out towards the end, right in the middle.
Does anybody else notice how it also sort of, once it goes down, it also starts to creep back forward? It kind of rolls forward again, which I always love, because sometimes when it's a little harsh sometimes in a lot of other bourbon.
I like the way it lingers. As someone who is a first-time bourbon drinker, I was a little weary, but I love it.
Yay.
You guys just popped
Converted.
my bourbon cherry.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know exactly how you feel, by the way, just
That's
FYI,
right.
because I'm sure there's a lot of other people on this call that are very savvy. We all want to know what you're thinking.
Exactly.
I feel dirty just listening to Ash.
Yeah, give me a little bit more of this and I'll definitely be saying stuff.
But she's got a point, which is, and that's what's so amazing, is that to someone new to this category, and that's why, honestly, the data is telling us too, because of that level of approachability. And it's true, John, you're right. Ash, that's what we want to hear, is that because our palates are all, really looking for this stuff. Man, I'll tell you what, Mr. Bill, I would love to get into that cabinet behind you, man. That's solid.
Yeah, I'll probably got another 100 bottles stashed away somewhere.
I'm
Behind that
pretty
door.
sure that almost everyone, excluding Ash, no offense, Ash, but
Not a problem.
most of us on this call probably have a kind of borderline excessive collections of alcohol.
Yeah.
Especially
Maybe whole rooms of our home dedicated to it.
yeah, like actual entire rooms and like speakeasies, and it's borderline obsessive.
I love it. Listen, I can't wait. Kentucky is definitely, I've had some conversations with Tim about it, but Kentucky is definitely we're already looking, and we're already looking at properties, and we're gonna have to move pretty quick, just because we need to get into a new fill situation fast, because we have a tremendous demand. Scott, what are you feeling, man?
I love the spiciness of the rye that comes through. That's what I enjoy. I don't want to, when I see 80, I'll be honest with you, when I see 80 proof, I was initially like, okay, well, we'll
Right.
see what happens. But I do love high rye. I'm a huge fan. It gives you
That
great
spice.
stability. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious why you're keeping the wheat and barley secret.
Only I will tell you, without naming any names, just for a while. I mean, it's probably not going to last super long, but I've just had some industry insiders who were at a very high level. I'm just being super candid, and had a very high level that were taking our blend and sharing it with massive producers who were looking to sort of pinpoint what it is that people are really looking for. And he had the ability to take our information and share it. And I just said, we had a big meeting about it. And I said, maybe we just, for a little while, we just make sure we because this has been such a labor of love. I mean, this is all I've done with my life, and so we just felt that it was appropriate, and people respected it. But, basically, those levels, tweaking those levels, I spent 6 months just working on wheat and barley.
Right.
Wheat and barley, literally 6 months. I was driving myself insane. I really was. But again, and I knew we'd always get this, but at times I will tell you, it felt as if we were chasing a ghost, because I agree with you, Scott. It's 80 proof, people are skeptical. So the thing about 80 is that it's going to really allow you to experience those grains in a different way, right out of the bottle. Or like for me, I drink it on the rocks is really how I have my bourbon. You know,
Right.
Paul and I just drink this while we're sitting having meetings and stuff. We just pop it open. But on the rocks, you know, again, you're only getting a tiny bit of dilution. I do understand that at 80 proof, you know, one of the heads of one of the biggest retailers in the world that will go unnamed said, well, you know, this bourbon is amazing. This person was trying to hammer me, this huge Zoom call, one of the biggest retailers on the planet. Says, well, this bourbon is, but how's it, you know, it's not going to hold up in drinks. So, well, bartenders can make drinks even a little stiffer sometimes. So, well, it's not going to hold up after 15 minutes. And I said, well, ma'am, I swear, in all due respect, I didn't make bourbon for it to sit in your glass for 15 minutes.
Right on.
If your cocktail is sitting there for 15 minutes, you are in a deep conversation, or you're about to have to order another cocktail.
True. Courtney, you're a bartender. What would you think about this in a cocktail?
No, the whole time that we've been sitting here since we started tasting it, I was actually thinking that, because I'm not going to lie, whenever Katie and I got the bottles and we saw that it was 80 proof, I was like, oh, because usually I'm turned off by that, to be honest. Like, I'm 100 proof and over girl, like high proof all day. And then we tried this and I was like, yes, because it did get the sweetness from the wheat and barley. And then, like Ian said, it just kind of crept back up on you, that rye at the finish. And it like really took me by surprise. And I was like, again, yes. Yeah. It's like, so.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I do get it. I understand from a bartender perspective. Wait till our bonded in bond brothers bond 100 proof.
Don't play with me like
When's that going to come out?
How far away
Yeah,
are
bonded
we?
tattoos. We are ready
Yeah.
for the bonded whiskey for our
We're really not far away. We're
That's
not.
amazing.
We're really not.
That was going to be one of my next questions, was about if you're going to come out, if you're going to do another higher proof, or if there's going to be a barrel strength or anything like that.
Both cask strength and 100 proof. It's spectacular. Rye, which is it's the only rye I'll drink. And in our first age statement, which is 8 years, we have a 4-year rollout on an 8-year program that is going to blow everybody's mind. We're not leaving any stone unturned. There's a real specificity to the rollout. Fortunately for me, my team that I've been fortunate to put together, our CEO, Vincent Hanna, is a 20-year veteran, ran a 9 million, 11 million case a year company for a long time. My COO, well, now CMO, she's one of the former heads of innovations at Pernod for 20 years. We have some pretty unbelievable team. Our sales and finance people all came over from William Grant, 15, 16 year tenures. I mean, these are real people that have come over and injected a tremendous amount of innovation and power into this. So that's where we are. Rob, anybody else? Any notes or like something that is a red flag for you, or is it just enjoyable and
Yeah, guys, throw out some of your tasting notes, your thoughts. We want to hear from everybody.
I'd be curious from Anthony, because I know, Anthony, you're pairing this thing with a cigar.
This is actually Brad Bonds here. My employee was logged in on the shop's computer, so welcome. Thanks for having me. It's amazing stuff, man. I actually like vintage bourbon. That's what I have a shop with. I buy and sell basically old alcohol, and all the vintage stuff is like 80 proof, 86 proof, and so that's what I'm used to drinking. So it's super smooth and buttery. It actually has a good oil to it too. Pairs well with this vintage Cuban I'm smoking right here.
Right.
So
what Cuban is it?
This is a La Gloria Cubana from the 90s.
Wow.
I know some people.
Yeah, right.
Jason,
Rob,
what
what'd
are
you
you?
say?
Ian, I'm getting a different a wide range of notes here. I am fresh off a LFD double Hero cigar. So I'm getting some real peppery notes, apricot, but I'm also a fan of what you're doing because in the world that I'm in, we're always introduced to bourbon newbies. So this is a great transition piece. There's no intimidation factor, and all you can do is climb up from here. So I love the ability for you to continue to grow your base just because they can actually appreciate the 80 proof and appreciate the complexity of it, and they can continue to grow with your brand. So kudos to you for that, man. It's awesome.
Thank you, man. And by the way, everybody, I do want to point that out, that if obviously you have other stuff to do in your life, but I do find, I urge you, and it's not because I want to sell my product. I'm saying just as a litmus test is something that's, because obviously there's a lot of stuff coming into this category, but there are very few brands. And I say this in all humility. It's just because, look, yeah, Paul and I happen to be on a incredibly successful television show. There's no doubt, right? That IP is a huge entry point. That's not what's going to sustain the company, right? But newbies, people who have never had the spirit, if you get a chance, you have someone over, you probably don't mingle with people that don't know bourbon very well, but in a restaurant or in with your salespeople or on the floor or in the boardroom, I recommend, giving someone some of this, because unanimously, I have gotten nothing but the conversations we're having. I mean, I don't think that any of you on this call have any reason to, blow sunshine up my ass about it. You would be real about it. Say, hey, well, I'm not getting this, or falls flat here. But unanimously, you hear people who are inspired and enjoying. It's not, just like you said, Rob, it's not overwhelming. So to be able to drink and not be overwhelmed is pretty incredible. And I'm really grateful to share this moment with you all, because it's pretty powerful.
So
Truly.
Also on the flip side of that, it's also not underwhelming. Like it's so good for experienced bourbon drinkers too. It's full of flavor and super enjoyable. Maggie's raising her hand. Maggie, what do you think?
I would like to know a little bit about your barrel entry proof and what kind of filtration you're using.
So barrel entry proof, you mean what does it come in at?
What does it go into the barrel at?
120 proof.
Okay.
120 proof. So char number 4 on our staves and number 2 on our heads. I think it's a 55-second burn. I mean, that's obviously a whole other thing, right? Barrels, sourcing that quality wood is really on another whole level of not only trust and artistry of its own. And then, what was the second part of that? I get so wrapped up in what I'm saying.
Filtration. What are you doing to filter? Yeah, before you bottle.
Cold filtration at 32 degrees. It's obviously no, oh, you guys don't have the bottles yet. It's obviously no secret. It's bottled in Fort Smith. That's where I have a little office. It's also happens to be Pernod Ricard. So small batch. Paul and I have a very, very strict, and Vincent, I mean, obviously we all do as a company. We have a very strict small batch policy. These batches will never be blended in anything over 5 or 7,500 cases. They are quality tested throughout every situation, through, prior to cold filtration, during cold filtration, after cold filtration. And so, obviously I'm really looking forward to, the science of cold filtration. I love the crystal. I love the amber color of this. I love how this feels aesthetically, and it's warm and inviting. I am looking forward to something that's a little less cold filtered. I wouldn't bottle it and sell it at scale like this, because I love that, but obviously you're taking a little bit of the color out and a little bit of but man, when this comes off that cold filtration and it sits for, 72 hours, man, and you get that first taste of what you know, if you think about what a spirit like this goes through to get to that glass, it's an unbelievable, monumental amount of science and art, you know? It's crazy.
I would love to try this not chill filtered. I think it would be amazing, not chill filtered.
Yeah, me too.
Unfiltered. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
listen, that's something that I literally spent 90 minutes on a call before this talking about some of these little, you know, just turn the doorknob and open a new door. Unfiltered is definitely going to be, because again, you know, at this type of, like Tim said, you know, this is a 4 grain. So we blend 3 grain mashes to get this 4 grain. And I'm really excited for the unfiltered, because some of the unfiltered stuff is really special, you know? I made this joke to my wife the other day. I said, you know, I have friends calling me, executives at companies, or, you know, artists, whoever, who were literally saying, Somerhalder, you screwed me. And I'm like, wait, what did I do? What did I do? Sip that bourbon. And, you know, I have a family and a job, and I have things that mean something to me. I need to focus on those things, but I can't, because I just drank this bourbon, and then I got more, and then I got more, and I got more. And
it's drinkable.
Said, I could eat this. I could eat this with my eggs. It's not acceptable, but I would if I could.
Oh, come to Kentucky. We put bourbon in everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, for breakfast in Kentucky.
Yeah, say that is breakfast for us. 80 proof bourbon. We call that walk around bourbon. So you can just drink that all day and it's
Breakfast
fine.
bourbon.
We keep that next to the bed. If you wake up and you have a little bit of headache in the morning, that's walk around bourbon. So it's good.
Hey,
Breakfast bourbon.
You people are forgetting I'm from New Orleans. We take bourbon
Yeah, so
seriously.
you're good.
We name streets after that shit, you know?
Yeah, Rebecca B had a question. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Hey there, 2
Hey,
questions.
Miss Rebecca. Tell me.
I was reading through your website today and I noticed this is aged 4 years in American oak. Where did you age it?
Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Okay, and then when you have number 4 char on the staves and number 2 on the barrel heads. Why did you decide to do that?
Honestly, you know why? Because for me, I mean, obviously, look, heat and wood do a really incredible thing together.
Yes.
They really do. This side of the barrel side of it, to me, became one of my favorite parts, because, you know, I've been tasting different levels of char for years now, and consistently over time, because again, you know, none of us, you know, we're not neophytes to this world. We're in it. And consistently every time, I would always like that 4 char on those staves is just enough to open up that wood and extract all those elements that add a really nice, again, right? Because we're looking at 4 grains of 4 grains. We want to equally express those grains over our palate. You need to balance that with a pathway of oak, and a level of viscosity that's going to carry all those flavors. This is where I really geek out a little bit. Sorry, Rebecca.
No.
But number 4 and number 2 combined have consistently over the last, you know, almost decade, given me that balance. At the end of the day, it's about balance. This isn't niche, but it still has those characteristics of being niche, right? Because if you look at starting a company, you know, you look at the bell curve, well, the farther out you go, you're just getting less and less and less people who are going to be attracted to that. And I want to be right slap ass in the middle of that bell curve, because I want it to be approachable to everyone. But then you've got to build that level of nuance. And number 4, number 2, I just found always gave me that. And so, and by the way, it's also a scary thing, you know, it's a scary thing when you're bottling bourbon. I mean, when you're doing a new fill agreement with a distiller, you look at those price, you look at those numbers, you understand the value proposition of new fill bourbon, obviously, and it's your bourbon. You've got to make a right choice.
Exactly.
But you just, man, you can lay there at night thinking, did I make the right choice? My hands get sweaty thinking about it, because had it gone wrong, it would have really sucked. But I think it's these little things that when you know what you want and you take risks and you let your palate guide you, then that's why some people are saying, if people get super, snarky about it and they want to go into, be a sort of a barrelhead, I just say, look, man, I'm not claiming to be a bourbon expert. I've had some of the greatest master blenders in the world say that I am, which is great. But at the end of the day, man, this is just our taste. This is just our palate. If you don't like it, totally hear you, 100%. We did the best we could. We looked into the science and the art and the love of it all. We live, but this is our life. We live it. If you were coming over to my home, this is what I would ask you and serve you. And this is just me in a bottle. That's it.
When I had the chance to taste it, go ahead, Becca.
I was going to ask, how many states is this going to be released to? Is it all the states or is it certain states?
50 states.
All 50. Very cool.
Yeah, we did a soft launch, California, Michigan, and Arizona right now, and we're on Reserve Bar now. That's May. June is the major launch. That's another 11 states. July is another 17 states. I think by September 1, we should be in all 50.
What about internationally, specifically Canada?
Yeah,
Renee's in Canada. She needs some.
Oh, Canada is absolutely, Renee. So oddly enough, our CEO is in Canada.
And your bottle is Gooderum and Wort, so.
What's that?
Your bottle is bottled after Gooderum and Worts, so.
Yep. It is that, and I've always loved that bottle, and I, beg, borrowed, and steal to make sure that I had a.
There you go.
Tim's got it.
Well,
Tim has it.
Dry goods are scary too, because you're looking at, again, you're looking at scale. It's craft, yeah, but it is at scale. And putting together our deal for the LCBO, I didn't know this, and you all might. I didn't know this until 18 months ago. The LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, is the single largest buyer of spirits in the world.
Yeah.
How crazy is that, man? But I do know it's a straight shot up from Kentucky to Toronto. It's easy to get to, and we are.
And can you pull the card like, do you know who I am?
I more just pull the card. Do you know who I think I am?
I feel like it'll work. Like I feel like
you know who Renee is. You need to get her bottles.
Right.
I use that card. Can I say that we are friends now? And do they know who my friend is?
Well, you know what? I'm going to make sure, Tim, if you don't mind, I would, well, obviously it actually takes everyone's permission. But Justine, maybe you can help me with shipping, because I'm going to make sure. I just was on the phone with my COO. I just need addresses. I'm going to make sure every single one of you, get a bottle ASAP. I'm going to put those suckers in the mail.
Everybody's good. Give me a thumbs up.
Cheers. Thank you.
Damn, this is better than
Right?
Oprah.
Better include me.
You get a bottle, and 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 you get a bottle.
You just Oprah'd us.
Was dying laughing. I'm like, this is the first event that Ian's done his brother's bond, since like in this type of community. I said, well, before that it was the Kelly Clarkson show, and then it was the Today Show and everything. I said, you know what? I'll take this all day long for ABV Network. This is great.
Yes, yeah,
Right,
we're
right.
really proud of this. It's exciting for us too.
It's all, the gratitude is coming from me, man. I mean, you know, John Kaufman is not only a very, very dear brother and mentor of mine, but he's also the godfather of my child. Like we could not be closer. I could not be closer to he and his wife and his family. And he introduced me to Tim, and he said, he goes, because I see John all the time, and he said, you know, it's crazy, man. I really just appreciate and adore this man, known him a long time, and does incredible work. I had no idea that he is this like whiskey man who knows so much of this network and how deep and cool and nuanced it is with such a unique, awesome, kind of badass group of people. And I said, yeah, man, let me talk to Tim. Tim wrote this incredible review, and we've started speaking and talking, and the level of gratitude, Tim, that John and I have for you, man, is like, we're putting this together, and everyone's voices, listening to everyone. This is a very special moment for me. I mean, it's now May 3rd, but we just technically launched our company 2 days ago, and response is overwhelming. I say this in all humility. The levels of engagement that we are seeing are unheard of as a company. I will tell you, as a spirits company, and actually in the beverage space, these are really crazy numbers. I'm not joking. This just can't. We have the highest engagement on social media, actually globally on Instagram, which you would think, this is such a 21st century conversation, but it does actually mean a lot. We have the highest engagement in the world. Think about this. So Brothers Bond, the last report is, and it'll be higher this week because we just launched. The last report was 31.08% engagement on social media. So just think about this. Terramana is at about between 1.75% and 2.75%. Proper 12 is 0.95% or 1.1%. Brothers Bond is at 31.08 engagement. It's like it's a phenomenon. So I'm really grateful for that. It's pretty wild.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because that when I John gave me a sampling of this stuff to taste it, and I said, I'm going to write an article on this thing, because this product is not meant for me and myself. It can be, but the traditional consumer like us aren't necessarily going to go there. But I said, the pre-sale and it's selling out with like in 4 hours, X amount of cases and everything. I said, this flashed me back when my cousin Patrick's on the line, who's also with ABV as well, and then he's on a lot of these events. I go back to a family party of being with some new whiskey drinkers just coming around, and we sit there and we went through a whole entire bottle of Old Forester at 80 proof. And this what this thing brought me back to. It's so complex. It's definitely not Old Forester. It tastes a lot better than that. It's interesting to see where this thing's going to go, because the target market that you have to launch, and then what gets us excited is what's coming next, which you already have. Some of these higher proof options are it's just going to be, with the complexity that you have already at an 80 proof with the mash bill that you chose. I've already gone through 4, and we've just been talking here. And I'm just happy.
Another.
I'm telling you,
it's a problem with this one.
Must be nice to have a whole bottle of it there. Real fucking nice, Tim.
Yeah, cut. Wait, we got to cut.
I went through a whole bottle.
Let me tell you something. The bottles, believe me, they don't come cheap. Fly to California, drive up a mountain, a very curvy mountain.
I'm gonna hand it over to my second.
Run.
It's so true.
I have one here, but anyway, one thing I do want to say, and I don't want to steal the show in any way, shape, or form, but one thing I do want to say is Ian is the most dedicated person to this brand that I have ever seen. And he's, first of all, I'm not a fan, and I have never literally watched a single.
No, he's my big brother.
He is one of my best friends. And I would say that I have seen him labor over this for the last 3 years as hard as I've seen anyone work over anything. And so the passion that is invested in this, and has been invested and continuously will be invested. I am wholeheartedly happy, and I'm just so honored to be a seed investor in this because of the fact that he has his whole life invested in this. So I just want to say that. Anyway,
Everything.
there you go.
Big brother.
I think it's entertaining too, because the ABV Network has some of the largest podcasts and growing podcasts on all the platforms. And a couple days ago was a bracket challenge that I believe McNew, you were on there. I know Lenny was on there too as well. Voting all the Becca Sue, you were on there too.
That was me.
Yeah, voting all the celebrity products.
We talked
that are
a bunch
out
of
there.
shit about a bunch of celebrities, and we pushed on Ian and Paul to the win on that. So
the forecasted out the longest lasting product that has a celebrity tied to it. I'm not going to say celebrity backed here or anything like that, because this is your passion. You're not backing it. You are it.
He's doing it.
Through the whole bracket challenge, I thought was very entertaining. I was laughing the whole entire way. Without even meeting you, without even talking, without even trying your product or anything like that. Just a bunch of asshats talking about stuff. Great.
Thanks for the
We
compliment,
land on
Tim.
this. This is awesome.
We are the king asshats around here.
I love it.
Let's say, I thought I was on that one, but
I think
maybe
you
I
were
wasn't.
too, brother. You were on there too. That's right.
Hey, Jason, were you on that one? Was that me, you, Lenny? I don't
Not,
remember who else was with us.
no, I don't think, I wasn't in the asshat group.
You are definitely an
Turner
asshat, Jason.
was on there, I think.
Hey, let me ask you a question. I haven't heard anything. Jim, is there anything you got that, anything I can answer, anything you want to know? Anything you found or kind of experienced through it? I know you've seen it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the best master distiller on the planet, as far as I'm concerned, Jim Rutledge.
You're muted, Jim.
Stephanie, are you able to unmute him?
Yeah, I can try. Hold on, let me find out. Oh, Steve's talking.
You talk. It's a rare moment where you get to actually, not only have the time of someone like Jim, but actually.
Yeah, I can ask to
understand
unmute. I'm trying to unmute
what's
him.
going on in his.
This Steve Akeley is here now. Hello,
What's up,
Steve.
Steve?
Steve is the founder of our network, Ian, and he's the one that's got us all here.
How you
Steve,
doing?
can you unmute Jim?
About
It's
time,
I
asshat.
can only ask to unmute. So
Yeah, you can only ask him to unmute. It's on him to hit it.
Yeah.
But
Jim,
a
you see
button
that
shouldn't
little,
look that.
Done.
that
Jim's
little,
trying.
that little microphone button? Click that, Jim.
Hey, Steve.
Bottom left.
Scotty, how you doing, man?
Might have something
Never
like
better,
me.
buddy.
This is
Maybe
like a
go-
who's who of bourbon.
I know.
That's a great group.
Are
I'm
we
glad you're-
voting on who goes on the Mount Rushmore bourbon tonight?
No.
So, Steve, I was going to ask a question, but now that you're on, why don't you ask it? Ian,
Yo,
can we get a single barrel of this? A barrel pick? That's where we're at. That's the kind of stuff that excites us. Barrel picks.
Yes.
what you all would know this while Jim figures out this mute situation. I wonder if, so for me, because I'm on an iPad, my mute is top right.
Yeah, mine's up there
Jim,
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
bottom left. Jim, are you on?
There you
Oh,
go.
there he is.
There he
There you
is.
go.
There he is, Jim.
Proud of you, Jim.
I kept clicking on that icon at the bottom to unmute and it wouldn't move. I had to go back to settings. All right, when I first got the sample and I looked at the color and 80 proof, I thought it was probably a year and a half, 2 years old until I picked it up and smelled it. And then I was guessing it something over 4 years old, but it has a lot of flavor. The first thing I picked up, I always look for the light flavors up on top and then go down deep for the heavier flavors, which I did. And cinnamon just jumped out. And I didn't know your mash bill. I had, someone had told me they thought it was, you used wheat as a small flavoring grain versus rye. And I started picking up cinnamon, a little ginger, there's some light oak in it, maybe a little allspice. And I said, oh, if this is wheat, you've got a really powerful yeast that generates a lot of spice. So I was glad to hear you talking about 22% rye. I'm a high rye person, and that's what I thought I was seeing. I wouldn't worry too much about your percents of malted barley and wheat, because no matter where you produce, the biology, the wild yeast in the air around the fermentation, no one can duplicate what you're doing at your distillery. But I was very surprised when I smelled it, tasted it, just from the looks of it. I thought it was going to be a lot lighter than it is. It's got a lot of great flavor and mellowness. One thing I would say, when Maggie said something about she would love to try it at barrel strength. Now, that doesn't mean unfiltered. You can do that, but there's too many people would see the char flowing around in the bottle and wonder what's going on with this bourbon. But you can run it through a sock pipe filter just to remove the char, and you probably want to consider doing that. The chill filtration is really important at the low proofs, like 80 proof, 86 proof. It's removing the fatty acids, which can precipitate out. The lower the proof, the more likely that is to happen. So it's a good thing you're using chill filtering process. But I'm very impressed with what you have, and wish you the best of luck. And anytime you ever have anything, questions of me, I'd be happy to answer anything. Just get in touch with me anytime.
That's pretty
Thank
cool.
you, sir.
I'm there. Right there's that's the statement of the meeting right there.
Wow.
That's Jim. Thanks for your thoughts and for sort of giving us that insight, because we're all, completely appreciative and in awe of what you've been able to do throughout your career and the contributions you've made. So thank you for that. And I will take all that information and use it. And I would love to have a deeper and more meaningful conversation. And you're in Kentucky, right?
Yep. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. No, I didn't know if
Nowhere
you just
better.
said, no, I'm done with this. I've been living this beautiful bourbon life, and you know what? I'm gonna move to, wherever, like the panhandle of Oklahoma or something. I don't know.
How about anywhere but California?
Yeah, right. No, I appreciate that,
Sorry,
Jim.
I'm out. I'm muted again.
The reality of it is, man, is that I mean, I think we can all say this. I've appreciated the things you've done for so many years of my life, and studied you and what you are about and all those things. So thank you for that. And I'll take that to heart. And I will tell you, when you get to talk to a man like this and you see sort of these incredible contributions and careers, you think back and you go, well, this is the true American spirit, right? This spirit in and of itself is that true American spirit. So, honoring that sort of classic bourbon spirit, if you can, within that space, find those levels of nuance and meaningfulness that people like Jim have done, then you've changed it's households or bonds, and that's really where this comes to, Jim. The idea of bonding and the idea of coming together over a spirit like bourbon. Now, mind you, look, this country is a very divided place. We don't need to go into any of that space. But what I find is when people come together over food and something like bourbon, the conversations that happen, it's like it's a very special thing. And for me right now, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to invest and reinvest in community around bourbon in this country, and utilize the money that we are making from this company to reinvest into the agricultural space, to build communities and the idea behind bourbon and its contribution to society. So, I am not joking. We are busting our asses to make that a possibility. And it's going to be, there you go. That's what we're going to do.
Hey, Ash, I think you had a couple questions too, right?
Tell me.
First of all, I just wanted to say it's been so entrancing listening to you all guys, because I'm a newbie to this world. So it's just learning everything that you guys are saying is just awesome, and I'm having a great time. Ian, my question to you is, since I'm a newbie, first of all, I just want to tell everyone I am 31 years old, even though I look 13. So
I was questioning if you were at least 21 there for a while. I
have the ID to prove it, I promise. My question is, Ian, the only reason why I basically got the bourbon is to support you and Paul. I've been asked through the years, to try whiskey and everything else. And I'm like, no, and I'm stuck on saying no. So for those who aren't aware of you and Paul and are stuck on saying no to bourbon, if they were in front of you, what would you say to them to convince them to take a walk on the wild side and try a Brothers Bond?
By the way, that's a huge, so again, and you all know this in this space and category, that, Gen Z goes to about 24, right? So we're catching that sort of tail end of the Gen Z and the millennial sort of category. Now, mind you, Gen Z gals and millennial gals, this category, people are now curious now. Men in this category will obviously be curious and purchase because it's bourbon. But when you start looking about what's so interesting about the demographic boundaries are breaking as a result of this bourbon. And so what I'd say to someone is, hey, listen, so typically you're going to be told bourbon is, it's going to be strong. It's going to kind of kick you in the teeth, but it's good once you sort of dilute it and get it down a little bit. What I would say is, listen, have a taste, get it in there, really experience, roll it over your palate, really experience the flavor of it. And if that's too much for you, put it into a drink strategy. Obviously, it's no secret. RNDC are our major national partners. Breakthrough, Empire. We have incredible partners in the distribution space. RNDC is the big national one. And when you're going through these huge high-level meetings with the heads of these massive companies and you're building out drink strategies and all these things, again, we leave no stone unturned. So, and it's building out a strategy of drinks that allows someone to get in with their own comfort level. But for me, I can sit with my 70-year-old mom, pour this out of a bottle with two pieces of ice, and just sit and sip. This, understand what you're getting into, so it's not a shock if you feel a little bit of heat. But once that heat is gone and it dissipates, really pay attention to that sensory proportion that you get from these grains. It's not, it happens with wine. You can do it with something like a gin or maybe a vodka, but nothing, in my opinion, is as nuanced and yummy as a spirit, not Scotch, nothing, than American bourbon, period. I think a lot of us would agree on that, right?
Yep.
Totally
I mean,
agree.
Steve, I'm sure you didn't, I'm sure when you started this, it wasn't just because you sort of were lukewarm on bourbon.
No.
Kind of make a company.
Yeah. I thought I was all in, but I've learned to love it even more. I mean, it is just such a great spirit with such great history, great people, and the impact that it has on people in gatherings like this. You just see what it does for people. It's amazing. So
And he needed a job. He needed a job.
yeah, I did need a job too. Yeah.
I think Steve would be the first to say that bourbon has brought so many random people together, and people that unlikely friends with bourbon. It's just that's common in bourbon, is unlikely friends, people that you'd never think would hang out, just become the closest of friends, and that's what makes it a blast.
What are you trying to say, that we don't want to hang out?
Jason, I would have never talked to you ever in my life.
That's because you lived in North freaking Dakota.
Yeah, screw off, Jason.
Who talks to people in North Dakota?
You're sitting here and you're looking and you think of like someone like Jim is thinking, I've gotten so many millions of people really happily drunk in this planet.
Yeah.
Over those years. And you think it's like, Steve, bringing people together, fun, food, bourbon, conversations, bonding, boom.
Yeah.
Whether they're new or old, strengthen those bonds. And I'll tell you, man, I've been around a long time. I've lived around the world. Spent a tremendous amount of time with John talking about not only just life and economics and this for me is that thing where, I mean, the size and scope and scale that we're now getting to deal with is just, it's never been seen in the bourbon category, period. So for me to sit here and be able to, to have this sort of inaugural tasting and have these conversations and, with just a small group of us, this is magic. I mean, this is also the beauty and the complexity of modern technology allows us to have this. We wouldn't have been, guys, we couldn't have done this 10 years ago.
No.
Right? Not like this in real time. No way. Not at this level. Wouldn't happen. So my hat is off to you all, and the gratitude and level. I know, it's getting late, but the gratitude and the level of appreciation I have for your voices and for your thoughts. Anthony, I'm literally looking at two Cubans right now that are calling my name, and I got to get on that.
I'd like to, Lenny, I'd like to just hear from Lenny, just because he's, there's no talking down to you, but Jim's a legend. So Lenny's the only other distiller I recognize on here. And I'd like to hear, at least, hopefully, Ian, you'd like to hear from Lenny. Lenny does a great job of what he does. And I think that being another distiller, we want to hear kind of some questions from him. At least I
100%,
would.
man.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jason. I don't have too much to offer on the tasting because I took off. I live in Colorado. I have a small distillery out there, and I'm away from Colorado right now, so I missed the sample arriving. So I'm drinking some Buffalo Trace this evening. I look forward to tasting your stuff. But
Jesus,
you know what? My bad. I'm doing my best.
I'm doing my best.
No, I've been following along. I listen to everything here. I listened to your interview on another podcast from a guy in Texas that you did a week or so ago.
Chris.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
Whiskey.
Yeah,
Heat,
yeah, good dude. But I like following the journey up of anyone, and I like what you guys are doing. And as Becca alluded to, I thought we had a discussion about like celebrity whiskeys, but I think it's rad that you guys are taking such an active role in it and working so hard on the blend. I think everybody nailed the questions and everything. I'm looking forward to the tasting this iteration and tasting the next one as well. And I think there's cool stuff to come. So I'm looking forward to all of it. I don't really have questions as much as just looking forward to watching the journey.
Thanks, man. I mean, you'll be back in Colorado soon enough. I'll make sure that bottle gets to. Do you want it in Colorado or do you want it away from Colorado? You'll let Justine and I know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tasting wherever. I think I see someone on a Colorado bourbon forum post a photo of one of your bottles. So I'm wondering if it's distributed out there already. Maybe. I'm not quite sure. Maybe they secured it somewhere else.
Well, CO, the thing about, we're on Reserve Bar right now, so anybody in Colorado can technically get it. Everyone on this call has experienced different levels of this business, and I know everybody's done it in different ways, but I'll tell you, man, coming into this alcohol space from the entertainment industry, they're not too dissimilar. But man, I will tell you, there are some very old practices that go on in this business that do not change. And no matter what you want, you either get in line or you get out of line, because there's only one way to go, you know?
It's true.
Yeah. So we want to respect everybody's time. We've been on here about an hour. We haven't heard from Lori yet, and I know I talked to you earlier in the day, so I want to know what you want to ask or say.
Yeah, I'm just really stoked about the environmental impact aspect of what you're doing. I saw Kiss the Ground, and
oh, nice.
Bourbon is magical, but with 51% corn at least in everything, that's a lot of freaking corn and other things. And so even not on purpose, the bourbon industry over the last 10 years especially is responsible for a lot of that approaching, desertification that's happening across the United States. And I'm just really excited to see a brand with this kind of passion that can, kind of pave the way and have a really positive impact in this sphere of influence when it comes to like what we're choosing to put in it and why, and how we can enjoy this spirit in good conscience, knowing that it didn't take anything away from the world.
Lori, and by the way, Jim, you know this too. Lenny, all you guys would. I mean, it is a tremendous amount of corn, and I can tell you, for any distiller, they recognize and understand how those raw materials come in, what those price bundles are, how it all works. What I've learned, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, what I've really felt, especially in the bourbon community, that when you're there and you're either distilling, bottling, selling, or looking to get into what is Kentucky bourbon, you're not a threat. You're not competition. You are part of a community. You're really part of a really nice community. And, it's no secret. I've been working with MGP very closely for now a long time, and looking at the prices of those grains and how they come in. And I really do feel that once Brothers Bond launches quite substantially, that other producers, once we start perfecting the ability for regenerative farms to happen across the spectrum of corn, wheat, barley, and rye, I think we're going to move a lot of needles. And I think it's going to be very prideful for a lot of brands to get on this. Brothers Bond has a completely separate capital arm. We are very fortunate to have a tremendous amount of access to some very smart and great people in the finance world. So Brothers Bond Capital, we have the ability to buy, lease, sequester, help farms across this country switch over to regeneration. Now that regenerative process, what farmers are going to learn is their yields are going to be bigger, their inputs are going to be smaller, the money coming into their household is going to be higher, their lives are going to actually be better. Now that is a crazy concept. Guys, gals, we are talking about bourbon, but when you look at what it means to the community, to this country at that scale, think about these companies. Think about what Brown-Forman produces, or what Beam produces, or what Four Roses produce. Like, think about the scale of this. Man, it is, listen, we know this from the data. There's about, what is it? 958 million, it's roughly a little under 1 billion acres are used in this country for agriculture. And of that agriculture, it is controlled by 1 million people. And 70% of that 1 million people are, white men 70 and over. So these guys are like, I've done my life. I'm retiring soon. So you're about 5 to 7 years out from seeing the largest shift of agriculture in this country. Think about how powerful that is, that amount of nuance and education and diversity. We're about to experience the greatest agricultural revolution in this country since post-World War II. And it's going to be the regenerative revolution. that to me, to be able to see that, not only witness it, be a part of it, and to produce something with line extensions that go above and beyond, and then encourage and partner with other distillers and brands. For me, that's the legacy piece of this. That's some big stuff.
Cheers to that, Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cheers to that, everybody. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Tim, John, Ian, Steve, Justine, everybody who got this put together. Thank you so much. And everybody who showed up and enjoyed it and asked questions. We appreciate all of you guys. But we will wrap up just to respect everybody's time. It's a Monday and we've been busy.
Yes, for sure. I didn't get a
Thanks,
chance
everyone.
to hear from Carrie, but I'm really grateful. Thanks for being on this call.
She's shy.
Or in a very, very dark room.
Either way.
One or the
Well,
other.